You are watching The New American Media.
It's an amazing album. Something when I play it, the hair on the back of my head just stands straight up because it's scary and good. A lot of tracks with horns, which is very unusual. This is a time where Jimmy was experimenting with different musicians in 68 and 69. So when it comes out, please enjoy it. And get scared just the same way I do.
Eddie, when you pull out these old tracks, do you flash back to the time when the recordings were happening? Does it bring back memories for you?
Man, the acid just kicked in, dude. I didn't say that, come on. No, it's great. I mean, we put the tapes and we transferred from 16-track and 8-track, even 12-track 1-inch tape back 2-inch Pro Tools using the Burl Audio HD converter. And it sounds amazing. And, you know, when you put the tapes up and you listen, you go, oh, okay, Jimmy's talking to me. Oh, geez. And we get a little twiggy there, but it's fun. It's good. He was very funny in the studio. He used to crack jokes all the time. He would take the piss out of me and Mitch and himself. It was a lot of self-deprecating.
Eddie, you've recorded so many things in the studio, but even more impressive is your record of live recordings. And if you talk about the list of artists here, I mean, Buddy Guy, Curtis Mayfield, Peter Frampton, Santana, David Bowie, and of course the album that shaped all of many of our adolescent life, Kiss Alive, right? The challenges of making a live record, very different. Yeah, but we're going to get to that. Very different, the challenges of making a live record. So, let's talk about Woodstock. What were you faced with on that particular weekend?
I think of Woodstock as 3 days of drugs, hell, and insanity. It was just, it's almost impossible. But you know what? We had no other microphones except Shure's. That's all we had. It was the original SM58s. And that's all we used for everything. And I guess it shows that it's still there after all these years. But we had no communication. We were in a truck, like 200 yards behind the stage, and there was no communication with the stage. I had to stand on the side of the truck and wave to the guys on stage and say, number 2. I had no idea. So the first song was an experiment because we were trying to find where all the tracks were. And we got it done. Thank goodness for Shure mics.
And also, there were some Shure mixers involved in that particular show too, weren't there?
Sorry?
Shure mixers were used on that.
Oh, right. Yeah, we had a 12-channel mixer and then a stack of Shure. I live in a small mixer.
260s?
Yeah, the little baby ones. I mean, come on. Yeah, 2 8-track tape machines.
So Eddie, you've seen so much transformation in recording and in the music industry. What's great about now, and what do you miss about the old days?
What I miss about the old days is a lot of bands who knew how to play their music and work together and rehearse together and went on the road together. So by the time they got to the studio, they had their shit together until we could go in, get sounds, hit play, record, and away you go. That's what it's supposed to be. You know, none of this, I'm going to do one track with a click track and then I'm going to add like a gazillion instruments. Well, that's fine. You can make records like that. But I like the idea of looking the guys in the eyes, like drummer and the bass player. I hate you. Yeah, I'm going to show you what's up. Hey, man. That's what music's all about. Leave the hair and the dirt in the tracks.
Eddie, you went from South Africa to England in the 60s, and there was so much happening across the pond in America. How was what was going on in England influenced by America and vice versa at that time?
It was amazing. We were so jealous of what was going on in America, because you guys, by the time we saw, we only had 4 tracks. That was it. And you guys in America had 8. And we went, wow, 8 tracks, man. I can't believe it, 8 tracks. So we were dying to get 8 tracks. But we had better consoles. We had great, beautiful consoles. So we had all the ability to pan with loads of EQ and tons of compression. and stuff like that. Whereas the guys in there were doing things a lot straighter as you had multi-track. Eventually things really sort of crossed out and everybody's kind of even.
So, Eddie, in getting the early sounds with Hendrix, you experimented with some techniques, and you kind of fostered an early approach to recording guitars with multiple microphones on the same amplifier. Maybe you can talk a little about why you do that.
Well, I always use a 57. Can I mention things? I use a Tube 67 and an M160 and a 421. This is a later edition of what I do. But I do it for the reason if I've got a big amp, I want to get close mics on the cone so each mic has its own sound. And then I use the 67 for the ambience. That's what gives me the sound. If I told you any more, I have to shoot it myself and everybody. So it's not going to happen.
But using multiple microphones gives you the opportunity to combine those in interesting ways.
You combine them because each mic has its own tone quality. But the 57, if you want that mid-range mic, there's nothing like it. And you can get away with just one mic. 57 is fine.
Also, Eddie, you do something kind of creative and unique in recording drums, too, that you've acquired from
Kill the drummer first.
That shortens the session. An orchestral miking technique that you use over a drum kit. Most people think of using two microphones to get the left and right over a drum kit, but Eddie?
Anybody hear of the Decca tree? Well, this is the Decca Free. It's three mics, left, center, right, over the top of the kit. And usually then two mics like B47s. And that gives you this beautiful stereo imagery, which I think works extremely well. And then the usual 57 on the snare, and 52 on the bass drum, blah 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 blah.
So Eddie, you love to give back to the community. You love to teach and train. We've done some great things together on sessions. One other thing I wanted to mention on a technique that Eddie uses. You sent me out into the streets of South Africa and Mexico City to find big rocks, big heavy rocks, and bring them back to the studio. What was the reason for that?
Well, on a bass drum, you want to make sure that you tighten it up. So you stick a big rock in there. It's not going to move, but it gives you a little platform to put your microphones on. But I can't tell you anymore because I'm going to have to kill a lot of people.
So part of your training recently is a program called Mix with the Masters that you've been doing in France. Maybe tell the folks a little bit about that.
There's this thing called Mix with the Masters. It takes place in Saint Remy in the south of France in Provence. And it is fabulous. I've done it twice this last year. And it brings in like 10, 15 engineers from all over the world. The guys are at the top of their game. They bring in their hard drive. And I get to look at their music and examine it and give them critiques. Then we cut a live band, and then we all figure out, okay, this is a different technique, this is how you work, this is how I work, and we exchange ideas. Plus, we drink lots of wine and we hang out. It's cool. What can be better than that, right? Mixing and drinking. Hey!
So the artists that get chosen to be the talent for this, how do you work through the rehearsals and the process?
I brought a band over. They're actually here, a band called Olio. I brought them over from LA. They're in the back there. Hey, yo! I brought them to the south of France and recorded them. There's one track we did in their rehearsal spaces. It's an enormous rehearsal space. 80 feet long, about 40 feet wide, about 50 feet high. And I set them up in there with three mics, one mic overhead, one on the snare, one on the bass drum, a 57 and a 57, one on each, on the guitar amp and the bass amp, and a couple of room mics. That was it, and it sounded amazing.
No problem. Eddie's also getting involved in some other business opportunities lately, along with his better half, AJ. She's around here. Maybe tell everybody a little bit about the clothing project, and then we talk about the guitar pedals.
Yeah. These are the scarves that we're making. This is Eddie Kramer signature scarves. The company's called Luna Finery. These are made from Italian silk. Hey, pasta mazzola. And you can go online and have a look at them. We make scarves for ladies and for men and for any other animal.
Jimmy have a appreciated these cars?
This one's called Purple Haze. Duh. I'd like to bring my friend Francesco on camera.
And we're also, this year at NAMM, Eddie is debuting some new hardware. These are the Eddie Kramer guitar pedals.
Yeah, these are Eddie Kramer signature guitar pedals. Distortion. This is the Phase Vibe. It's a phaser and a univibe all combined, and a digital delay. These two are analog, and that one's digital.
Yeah, this is like a very... What we've done, we try to capture all of his best works over this last 50 years and capture the essence of this and the spirit of his work and put them in such tiny pedals. Give me my hand up, please. We have a distortion that goes from Jimi through Led Zeppelin all the way up to Nirvana and Korn and any of the contemporary sounds in two different modes. And we have a phaser and a univibe built in one pedal. So this is fantastic sounding. All of them are. And an echo box that it's a collection of 3 modes with old analog delays and coming from all of the old school machines like the Pinsons and stuff. Really, really cool stuff.
Fantastic. And where can we see these guys? Over in the Guitar Hall?
We are in Hall D. 3326. 3326 3326 Okay.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you very much.
So, Eddie, just lastly, where do you think we are as an industry? Music, recording? Are you optimistic about where things are headed? Are you feeling good about things? Or are we missing something now that we used to have?
Yeah and no, because I think there are a lot of bands out there who love the old way of doing things. The White Stripes, Black Keys, all those bands who love ancient material, tape. They love that stuff, but we transfer it into the digital world and keep working. That's what I've been doing all my stuff. And there is a synergy between the analog and the digital world. I think that's important. Make them work together. They work. Don't go crazy with plugins. Don't go crazy with sweating it about the analog thing. As long as you have good mic pre's and good mics, you can record digitally. Obviously, that's the way a lot of people do it. Tape is expensive. Trust me. The way to do it these days, take one reel of tape, just use the one reel, and just keep wiping it. Because once you've got your track, dump it into Pro Tools, and away you go. But do use a good A to D converter, like the Pearl Audio. That's the one.
So, Eddie, lastly, if you had one microphone to make a record with, what would it be?
I think it's a 5-7.
Thanks a lot. Eddie Kramer, ladies and gentlemen.
Mouse, the big cheese.
Thank you, everybody.